Good afternoon, students. Let us understand about Factory Act 1948, which is a part of unit number 5. Now, under this Factory Act 1948, there are different kind of sections, rules and regulations which have been stated as per the requirement of Indian context. But before that, let us understand what exactly the history and how it has evolved. Factory Act 1948. In Great Britain, the second half of 18th century, there was a rapid growth of industrial town and factories. As it was started without planning, they employed the women as well as their children in the factories who needed to work for more than 12 hours a day. Means there was an exploitment and they were not thinking about who should be employed, how it should be employed, what would be the rules and regulations for that matter. So it means what there was a complete a kind of servant and labor relationship was there in an employment relations and labor legislations. So the kind of this particular point has evolved a kind of a pathway to create different rules and regulations, and it has to be legally enforced on the industries. So these are and so many other kind of exploitation issues has helped in evolving the various rules and regulations and laws to the various countries, and we are one of them who have taken into consideration this particular law and its amendments as and when required. Some of the employees took initiative to implement labor legislations. Factories Act came into existence in 1819. In the context of India, it has evolved after the independence, but the kind of act which has been taken into consideration as an labor legislation in the factories, and what could be the wages, what could be the rules and regulations, how it has to be given and hygienic conditions, the welfare, the kind of safety and security of the workmen, that has been taken into consideration under this act. After some modification, the final amendment of Factory Act took place in 1948. So how it has evolved we have understood. Now let us understand certain other aspects which have been taken into considerations. In India, the first Factory Act was passed in 1881. The act was basically designed to protect children and to provide few measures for health safety of the workers. This law was applicable to only those factories which employed 100 or more workers. Means those workers are working in organizations where 100 or more workers are there, that this particular act was applicable. In 1891, another Factory Act was passed which extended to the factories employees wherein 50 or more workers are working. Health, safety and security are crucial point as far as this act is concerned, where welfare, working hours of adults, annual leave wages are also taken into considerations in this act. So factory is defined in the section number 2M, and what it means we will discuss. Okay. It means any premise including the precincts thereof wherein 10 or more workers are working, or we were working on any day of a preceding 12 months, and in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on with the aid of a power or is ordinarily so carried on, or wherein 20 or more workers are working or were working on any day of proceeding 12 months, and in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on without the aid of a power or is ordinarily so carried on, but does not include a mine, subject to the operation of Mines Act 1952, or a mobile unit belonging to the armed forces of the Union, a railway running shed, or a hotel or restaurant or eating places are not taken into consideration for this matter. Manufacturing process means a process for which making, altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, packaging, oiling, washing, cleaning, breaking up, demolishing, or otherwise treating or adapting any article or substance with a view to its use, sale, transport, delivery, and disposal, or pumping oil, water, sewage, or any other substance, or generating, transmitting, and transferring power, or composing types of printing by letter, press, lithography, photogravure, or other similar processes, or book binding, constructing, reconstructing, repairing, refitting, finishing, or breaking up ships or vessels, preserving, storing, or any article in a storage. These are coming under manufacturing process. So now let us understand the day means a person of 24 hours beginning at midnight. Week means a period of 7 days beginning at midnight on Saturday midnight. Calendar year means the period of 12 months beginning with the first day of January in year. Power means electrical energy or any other form of energy which is mechanically transmitted and is not generated by human or animal agency. Prime mover means any engine, motor, or other appliance which generate or otherwise provides power. Under this act, what is been covered? The first and foremost part is related to cleanliness. Second, disposal of waste and effluents. Third, ventilation and temperature, dust and fume. Fourth, artificial humidification, overcrowding, lighting, drinking water, latrines and urinals, and spittoons. These are the major considerations which have been taken into consideration under this act. Then, if we look at other part which have been covered under this is provision regarding safety. Okay, the first and foremost fencing of machinery, work on or near machinery in motion, employment of young persons, employment of young persons on dangerous machines, striking gear and devices for cutting of power, self-acting machines, casing of new machineries, prohibition of employment of women and children near cotton openers, hoist, lifts, lifting machines and others, revolving machineries, pressure plants. These are considered under safety. We have seen next part is provision regarding discussion of health. We have already discussed safety. We have discussed. Now let us understand in continuation of safety floors, stairs, and means of access, pits, stumps, opening in floors and others, excessive weights, protection of eye, precaution against dangerous fumes, gases and others, precaution regarding use of portable electric light, explosive and inflammable dust gas, precautions in case of fire, specification of defective parts and test of stability, Safety of building and machines, safety of officers. These are the few points which covers under safety part. Then next we will discuss about provisions regarding welfare of workers. As we discussed about health, hygiene, safety, security and welfare. These are the measures which have been taken into account as per as Factory Act 1948 concern. So let us understand which are the part or the provisions which are under covered welfare of workers. Washing facilities to the workers, facilities for storing and drying clothing for the workers, facilities for sitting arrangement of the employees, first aid facilities to the employees, canteens, shelters, restrooms, lunchrooms, creches, and welfare officer under Factory Act 1948, which have been covered under this provision. Then hazardous process. Okay, provision regarding hazardous process were instructed in the act under new chapter by which Factories Act 1987. Okay, after amendment it is been ensured in Factory Act 1987, the amendment which is related to hazardous process. This act instructed two new schedules. One is listing of industry involving hazardous processes, and second part is relating to the permissible level of certain chemical substances in work environment. Now provisions regarding hazardous process includes constitution of site appraisal committee, compulsory disclosure of information in an organization, special responsibility for occupier in relation to the hazardous processes, maintaining acute and up-to-date health and medical records of workers exposed to any chemical, toxic or other harmful substances manufactured, stored, handled or transported. Appointing qualified, experienced and competent person in handling such substances to supervise handling and for protecting the workers from the hazardous situations, hazardous processes, providing for medical examination of every worker in intervals, then appointment of inquiry committee, emerging standards, emergency standards which are being required in terms of organizations and its safety purpose, permissible limits of exposure of chemical and toxic substances, workers participation in safety management, rights of workers to warn about imminent danger. Now let's understand working hours for adults. The working hours as per as adults are concerned, weekly hours are 48. Weekly holidays, at least one holiday in a week. Substitute holidays has to be taken into consideration. Then compensatory holidays has to be provided to the workers under this particular act. Daily hours should not be more than 9 hours. Okay, then interval for rest at least half an hour in 9 hours period. Spread over, it should be spread over, and then night shifts to be taken into consideration properly. Then prohibition of overlapping shifts, not more than two continuous shifts. There should not be continuous shifts to be given to the workers to take care of his health, to take care of his own hygiene. Extra wages for overtime to be given. If the overtime is being given, OT, that is what we can call it as an OT, overtime. If overtime is given, then we have to give extra wages apart from salary which is been decided. Wages are at the rate of twice at his ordinary rate of wages for overtime. If, for example, employee is getting 500 rupees per day, then the overtime should be 1000 rupees. Like, whenever it is really required, it has to be given extra time as an overtime. Otherwise, it should not be given continuous extra time or overtime to a particular employee. Notice of a period of a work has to be ensured. Then restriction on employment of women and children is a major concern, and it has been taken care. Work between 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. should be given to the women workers. Strictly restriction for women for employment between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. There should not be any work which is to be assigned to the women workers after 10 p.m. and before 5 a.m. This is very strictly followed as per as Factory Act 1948 is concerned. Employment of women in a night shift is permitted only in the case of fish currying and fish canning. Annual leave with wages. There should be consideration of annual leave with wages. It has to be taken into consideration wages during leave period, wages to be given to the workers when they are on the leave, payment in advance in certain cases if it is really required, mode of recovery for unpaid wages, power to make rules has to be taken into consideration as per as this act is concerned. Then offense, if there is a certain, let's say some of the organizations are not taking care of these particular rules and regulations which have been abide by the legal provisions which are under this particular act, a court can cognizance of offence only when the complaint is made within 3 months of the date which is alleged commissions of offence came to the knowledge of inspector, but where the offence consists of disobeying a written order made by inspector, complaint may be made within 6 months of the commission of the offence. What are the different penalties under this act? General penalties for offence, penalties for contraventions of provision relating to the hazardous processes, penalty for obstructing inspector, penalty for wrongfully disclosing results of analysis, penalty relating to the casing of new machineries, penalties for offences by workers and parents, penalties for offence by medical practitioners, and penalties for employing labor, child labor. This is all about a common understanding and a brief understanding of Factory Act 1948, under which we are taking care of health, hygiene, safety, security, and welfare officer, which are very crucial. I hope you have understood this particular. Uh, Go through it, like it, subscribe my channel of YouTube for better understanding. Thanks for the day.